Hi, and welcome back to the ChessTDD series. My apologies. I kind of always seem to say that, but this has been a particularly long time. If you check out the blog, you can see the various excuses I started to make, but long and short of it is I'm back, and what you see me doing there is taking care of the first dangling item from last time around, which is to get rid of that dead field. And I've actually upgraded to Visual Studio Premium, so I think that you're seeing a new bit of usefulness where it's highlighting in gray unused fields. CodeRush does that historically by graying them out, but I think this is a new feature from Ultimate, versus Premium, which I used to have. Anyway, so a few differences there, and that's probably a testament to how infrequently I write code these days that I don't really even know anymore what the features of the IDE are. Nevertheless, I'm going to try to soldier forth here with not only picking up code, but fumbling my way through a completely unfamiliar testing tool. I promise I did not do any studying before I just picked this up. And because of that, you'll get to watch me fumble through things I don't understand about SpecFlow. For one, when I look at this, I could not for the life of me figure out why I got the autocomplete and all the nice goodness for the given and the when, and then the then keyword showed up, but it just didn't seem to detect that and. I kind of just went with it to see if it would pick it up, but it didn't, and I see that there's an error. It says that there's a parsing error. I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the tab. I played around with this for a bit, and then I said, okay, let's try pasting what we know to be a good one in there. So I did the paste, and it appeared that nothing changed except the syntax highlighting then picked it up. Now, most people might be satisfied that finally the test started running, but I hit Control-Z and went back to see if I could figure out what the problem was and try typing it again. All right, my tests are red and it's building. Then now it's getting picked up for some reason. Best guess I've got is the tab. I don't like doing things by coincidence, but I'm not going to waste your time and mine through the entire episode trying to figure this out. Tried it again twice and it worked, so the best guess I have, like I said, is something with the tabbing there. Anyway, what we've got is a red situation here. This is a little bit backwards because I'm not actually driving new functionality, so I'm not looking to change production code with red tests. These tests are starting out red because they're not implemented yet, so this is a slightly different thing than the TDD that you're used to. This is just kind of building tests after the fact. It's not normally how I might go about doing things, but in this case, I decided kind of on the fly to incorporate acceptance testing, and I'm also sort of taking the SpecFlow for a test drive. I don't fully know how it works yet, so it's a little harder to drive my implementation before I kind of know my way around. So the first thing I'm going to do here is implement the result contains a space to a head. So I'm following the same pattern here that I followed in the last then clause. Now I've got green, which is good, but now the clean coder in me is looking at this and seeing an awful lot of duplication. The fact that I had my eyes on the method above and was typing it out almost verbatim, that's usually a pretty serious code smell. I think that in my future there might be a SpecFlow deal here where I can make these methods take parameters. I've watched a number of Pluralsight videos lately about different programming technologies, and I think it was SpecFlow in which I could do this. I might be thinking of something else. My apologies. In lieu of actually writing code, these days I find myself just kind of watching things about how one would write code. So I've started just keeping it simple, and I thought a little bit and said, okay, what's a method we could pull out of this? Well, in both of these methods, I'm getting a collection of moves from the context, and then I'm trying to determine if there are any moves that match a particular set of XY coordinates on the board. So how about does context contain match for int x, int y, and then I will use this same implementation here, get from context. Probably could have done an extract method there, but live and learn. And then I'm not going to assert anything because I don't want to assert indirectly. I want to assert directly in these annotated, attributed, sorry, there's my Java that I've been doing lately creeping in, directly in these methods, in these then methods. So I'm going to assert on this, the results of this helper method. Now, I got a little ahead of myself there, and I wasn't compiling when I started deleting that first line, so I wanted to make sure I got back to green. Then I did delete it. Now we're working. And I can go ahead with the same logic for the other method. But in terms of the assert semantics here, I didn't really like the name, so I wanted to say assert is true, context contains match for. That reads almost like a sentence, and that's really what I'm going for, especially in tests. I mean, after all, that's kind of the whole point of SpecFlow here. I want everything here to read like prose. So I have living documentation of what's going on via my tests. So, okay, I've got a second scenario there, which I'm happy about. The next thing I was doing in general here, you're sort of watching me feel my way through a new tool as much as you are watching me do my own kind of development patterns. So just for my own sake of knowing the tool, I thought like, oh, okay, well, let's kind of see how a negative scenario feels. So I've got the same given and I've got the same when, but I want to test out a negative case for then. So then the result does not contain a space 3 ahead. And I do seem to remember from last time you're kind of watching me type these words out that something got screwy with numbers in this feature file and in the attributes for the methods. I vaguely remember that, so I was sort of scrupulously avoiding those. Another peculiarity I discovered, and maybe somebody who knows SpecFlow can chime in, for whatever reason, when I do a copy the code for the new clause, if I hit Control V, it doesn't work. But if I actually use the context menu and select paste, it does work. That seems pretty clunky. Maybe I need a new version of SpecFlow or something. Is that a bug? I don't know. But anyway, I just kind of ran with it. So I'm moving that new method there, which is fairly self-explanatory at this point. I just wanted to put it with the other methods with the then attribute. And then just for the sake of consistency, I decided to move these helper methods down with the other one. I've got sort of a, I guess, personal, calling it standard, a pattern maybe of development where in the tests I put a lot of private setup-y stuff at the top. But something feels different about this to me, so I was putting these helper methods down at the bottom, which in any other context except test setup is where I tend to put auxiliary methods for the class. So at this point, I decided to start fleshing out the names a little. This is still kind of contrived. I'm still in, like, let's build one of these features and see what it feels like mode, but I started to make the jump to say, okay, let's make this look like what it should actually look like once I have a nice suite of acceptance tests. So I said, I first started saying queens, rook, but we'll just go with white first column pawn moves. So I changed the name of the feature, and then it seems to me like I ought to have the feature file name be the same. It also kind of seems to me, I've been reading a little bit about fixie and some convention over configuration kind of things with test setup. It feels like somehow I shouldn't have to do that twice. I shouldn't have to change the name of the feature in the feature file and then also in the feature class name, but that's pretty opinionated. So I'm renaming all these things. As I do this, you'll watch me. Well, you can't really see, but I'm watching for these tests to go green, and then I'm actually, doing things like Control-Shift-B to make sure I'm still building. And there was another sanity check. Okay, everything's still green. I think that's good. Let me make sure that it goes red if I make one of these tests do the wrong thing. That's typical behavior for me when I'm doing, I guess, solution housekeeping kind of stuff that I don't fully understand. So I'm changing the names. I don't know exactly how SpecFlow works and all its nooks and crannies, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't breaking anything. So far, so good. So I came in here, and I seem to recall that this italicized text is kind of free-form, whatever I want, so I'm making this a little bit more descriptive. And then I'm going to move on ahead with a final scenario here in this feature. So the last scenario I want, and you can see I'm sort of getting more into like, what is an actual chess game like? You can only capture diagonally with a pawn when there's a piece there. So what I'm saying here is that when the board is freshly set up and I'm going to move this pawn, the capture move should not be available to me. So scenario is attempt an illegal capture. So here I'm red again because I think I struggled a little to figure out how to describe this. Does not contain the capture space. I don't think I like that. And there are the numbers again, so it does not contain the capture space 1 up and 1 over. Couldn't think of a better way to describe it. So here I'm going to generate my step definition. That window kept popping up off screen. That's kind of what you're seeing. Copy it to the clipboard, and then I'm finally learning my lesson, and I'm not... Oh no, I did try to Control-V, and it didn't work, so I had to go back. Nope, didn't work, because I guess Control-V takes it out of the buffer. I don't know. But you'll watch copy method to clipboard. This time I don't do Control-V, and I go and I say paste, and there it works. So that's weird. If anyone knows why or how I can fix that, I'm all ears. So this is more of the same. This is getting pretty vanilla here. So this is the last scenario I'm going to set up in this particular feature. And I've started kind of mentally scheming on... I may keep this first feature around just for nostalgia's sake or something, I don't know. But now that I'm getting a feel for how this works, I kind of want to figure out what are the actual features I'm going to want for real. So that's what's coming up next time, assuming that I don't get bogged down in any yak shaving for some reason. Thinking of taking something, and there I'm going to move it over and call it done, and start to describe what I'll do next time around. Sorry to make you watch me read this. But so next time I'm thinking of doing something along the lines of setting up a board and just having a bunch of different assertions about which pieces can move where. And then maybe also defining some actions along the lines of like moving a few different pawns so that I can have a further set of assertions about, oh, okay, this pawn has moved now, so this rook or bishop ought to be able to go to this space. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to go, but we'll play it by ear. So the last thing I'll do is, since I was pretty good on time for this episode, being a short one, I didn't have to skimp on checking things into GitHub. So I do that and sync, and then I'm going to call it an episode, and I'll see you next time. Might do some more shorter episodes like this, but don't hold me to that. I kind of tend to struggle for brevity, not verbosity. So that's going to wrap it up for this time, and I will see you next time, and thanks for watching.